On today's episode of The Leen Show, the first ever episode of The Leen Show, we've got some great discussion on a couple of topics. We talk about Dave & Buster's, one of my favorite places in the world. We talk about the recently released documentary, The Curious Case of Natalia Grace, and how I think documentaries are way too long now, and more. If you like what you hear and want to follow us on Instagram and TikTok, please do at The Leen Show. We release new episodes every Sunday, so stay tuned for future episodes. Thank you to Glazed Eyes for letting us use their single, Way Down, and let's get into it.
Say the things you want to say, but don't forget the role I used to play. When you feel defeated, like your heart's been cheated, just think about me like before.
Hello, and welcome to The Leen Show. My name's Lee, and that's Kathleen.
Hey.
Kathleen, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Excited for the 4th of July holiday tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Annoyed I had to work today, but it's all good.
Yeah, how's the weather in Atlanta? Are you dying every time you walk outside?
Yes, it is insanely hot here. It was the same last summer, but even coming from Florida, like, the heat here is just about the same. Like, you walk outside and you walk for 5 minutes and it's way too much.
Yeah, we've been here in Pensacola, Florida. We've been under a heat advisory for about a week straight. Today, it's 90 degrees. It feels like 100, and it's 64% humidity.
Yeah. We were at the Braves game on Saturday, and I think it was 92 when we got there, but it was supposed to be, like, feels like 105 or something crazy like that. Thankfully, our seats were in the shade, but it was a hot game. Typical baseball
Shout out
game,
Ronnie.
though, right?
Shout out Ronnie.
Yeah. Is that Acuna Jr.? Ronnie
Yes.
Acuna Jr.?
His first
My
name is
man.
Ronald.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Pretty really cool guy, really uncool first name. Gotta say.
Ronnie, shy Ronnie, keep up. You know that SNL skit?
Yeah, I
With
do.
Rihanna?
Again, kind of proving my point. The
Yeah,
point of
that
that
is a tough
character
one.
wasn't damn, that dude's cool.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah, he hit a home run. We were texting about it.
You sure did.
I should have
You
put
sure
money
did.
on
You were-
it.
Yeah, you should have. And then, can I just say something really quick? So your boyfriend Sam also went to the game, and I
Yeah, he
asked
did.
him on Saturday. I was like, "Did you get a hot dog at the game?" He said, "No. The last time I got a hot dog, it made my stomach hurt." I'm like, "That's blasphemous."
Yes. And I'm trying to think where it was. It might have also been at the Braves game, and he might have gone with work. But yeah, he did have a bad experience with a baseball hot dog. So this time we got pizza, and it was actually, like, very good. It was a classic New York slice. So, you could fold it, but it stayed crisp. It was greasy. The cheese was falling off the end.
Nice.
Dave Portnoy would have given it a solid 7, I bet.
Like a classic Sbarro, right? The
Yeah.
best slice in New York.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. My favorite little pizza place. What does he say? Something like that?
Oh, he's, I should know. I can picture it. He's standing there and he's like, I don't know if he says New York's finest or if he says, like...
He says, like, my favorite. He's like, "This is my favorite little local pizza spot."
Yeah, you're right. It's something like that.
Which also, like, truly, why is there a Sbarro in Times Square? Or New York,
There's
or in Manhattan,
every-
or wherever that is.
Times Square there's not a single, like, authentic's the wrong word, like, local spot. Like, there's not a single local spot in Times Square. It's all just, like, big names. It's, like, Bubblegum Shrimp, Chili's, McDonald's, the Hershey store. Like, it's not, like, your classic New York mom-and-pop restaurants. It's all big names.
That's kind of sad. I didn't know that. But
Yeah,
also,
Times
shout out
Square
Dave
is
and
the worst.
Buster's. There's a fire
my
Dave and
God.
Buster's on Times Square. There is.
I've actually never been. There's one it's not in Atlanta. I think it's in Marietta, so it's like probably 30, 45 minutes away. I've actually never been to a Dave & Buster's.
What?
Yeah.
Ever?
No, never.
Oh my
I've been
God.
to, like, adult arcades. Like, I've been to There's a place in Atlanta called Andretti's that's a similar vibe, but I think Dave & Buster's is a lot bigger, and I've always wanted to go, and I never have.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the best places on the planet if you're a male from ages 17 to 35.
Yeah.
Probably, I don't know if it gets much better as a man with a little bit of cash in your pocket than a Dave & Buster's. Because you're going to spend a lot of it, and then you're going to feel like you got something out of it at the end with tickets. And then with the tickets, you get like a stuffed animal that's worth maybe $15, and you put like, let's say $50 on your player card.
Yeah. That and like 50-year-old Skittles. Like the candy that's just been sitting in, like, you know, when you can give your tickets up and a lot of times they'll have candy. You know that's been sitting there for like probably a year,
it's like
least.
transformed. It's like transformed into like a different kind of candy. It's like it's like turned into like a peppermint. You like can't even chew it.
And it's like those places, it's like they advertise like adult arcades, you know what I mean? But the gifts are still insanely juvenile. Like it'd be cool if it was like, oh, you know, submit your tickets in. I don't know why I'm saying submit. I'm in work mode. Cash in your tickets and get like a bottle of whiskey or a nice bottle of alcohol or something like that. But it's literally like turn your tickets in for slime, a giant unicorn, and a whoopee cushion and some still candy. Like, they need to make the prices a little more adult. I'm like, they need to have condoms out there. They need to have alcohol. They need to have a pack of cigarettes. Like, that's what I'm trying to turn my tickets in for.
A pack of cigarettes would be objectively hilarious.
Like,
that'd be hilarious.
Throw in a
just
Delta
get an
10.
Elf bar.
Yeah, Elf bar, exactly. 5,000 tickets, get an Elf bar.
You play
okay, we're totally onto something here, because it's like, you know, you've seen those bars that have like a PBR vending machine or a vape vending machine, or like even like Smith's in Atlanta has one of those vending machines where it's a bunch of different stuff. So there's like funny stuff and there's like actually like valuable stuff, like little mini bottles of alcohol. Like, we're onto something here. There could be a place where it's adults only, 21 and up, and you turn your tickets in for actual cool prizes, but you still get to play the games and stuff.
The other
an X-rated Dave & Buster's.
Yes, because like the thing about the Dave & Buster's prizes is like the profit margin has to be like 95% or up, right? That's the thing is like the best prize you can get has to be worth like maybe 5% of the money that you need to put in to actually get it. It's not a value proposition. So, like, in that scenario, like, the top prize, instead of it being, like, an Xbox or, like, a Switch, it would be, like, a carton of Marlboro Reds.
That's what I'm envisioning. That's what I'm envisioning. It'd be a huge success.
And that's worth, like, 10,000 tickets. And you just got to play Doodle Jump all day.
Oh yeah.
And there's like homeless dudes in there just putting all their quarters in a Doodle Jump so they can get a carton of Reds.
Their grocery
just make
shopping.
Their day. Yeah. I like this. I think that would work.
Yeah.
Although the name Dave & Buster's is kind of X-rated a little bit already, you know.
Yeah. Dave and Bust.
Yeah, if Buster wanted to like branch off and do his own thing, Buster's is like, I mean, that's.
Oh my God, Buster's.
There you go.
That's
it's
it.
Busters.
We break off. Yeah.
2 words.
Now we're on to something real.
All right. Well, we got a couple things on the docket today. Still pretty slow news week the last week or two.
Yeah.
I mean, unless we want to talk about like the geopolitical implications of Russia almost being taken over, which I don't. You know,
I went to Google something the other day, and the first suggestion was what's happening in Russia. I did not click it. I wasn't even close to clicking it. I knew it was trending, and I was like, absolute ignore. I don't want to know what's going on in Russia. Like, you can call me ignorant, and I am ignorant of what's going on in Russia.
Well, we all need... it's inevitable someone's going to be ignorant about something. Yeah. And yours is just world politics, and that's fine.
Absolutely.
It's not in your alley.
That's a good t-shirt. We're all ignorant about something. And then on the back, what you're ignorant about. Like, what you're ignorant about. So the front says, we're all ignorant about something. And for example, mine would say, like, mine's Russia. Or mine's geopolitical politics.
Sure. And it would be like, mine's Russia, and then it's a picture of like an old guy who looks like Putin but isn't Putin, and you're like, I can't tell the difference. I don't know who Putin is.
It's like James Gandolfini from
yeah. You got it.
The Sopranos.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my gosh, that was tough. I just kept picturing guns, so I got there eventually.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the things we have on the docket is, it's a little bit old at this point, but it's still a really interesting story. When did this doc come out? Did it come out recently? The doc?
Yeah, the doc
right?
came out. That's why I think it's been talked about on TikTok and just in the news recently. I think it came out in May, like mid-May. So it has not been that long.
Okay, so we're talking about, the doc is called The Mysterious Case of Natalia Grace. If you're unfamiliar, Natalia Grace, what's the best way to say this? Like, there's a family in Indiana, and they were very loving, and they did work with, like, kids with disabilities and stuff. And so they wanted to adopt another child, and they fly to Florida, and they adopt this 6-year-old Ukrainian girl named Natalia. And some things happen that raises some questions about whether or not she's lying, or whether or not, you know, there's something else going on that the family wasn't initially aware of. And Natalia, and this is in like the first episode, is the way that the family is portraying it, she's like a movie villain psychopath.
Right.
Like, she's bullying the other children that the family already had. She's walking around, she's stealing knives from the kitchen, and she's hiding them under her bed with a plot to like kill the whole family. And it's a horror movie in real life is kind of what it is, right?
How the parents portray it. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And I have a few thoughts on it. One of the thoughts is, and it's really just how I feel, because I have time and I don't really want to just like waste hours and hours of time for a story that doesn't need it. But this doc is 8 hours long?
Yeah, like
I think
8 episodes
I think it's
at least.
I think it's 8 episodes, about an hour each. Way too long. We need to get back to a time when a documentary lasted 2 hours, maybe 3 at the absolute max. Like, the thing is, and I made this point to you before, and you said that you agreed, but the thing about documentaries in like the last 3 or so years, my theory is Tiger King has just completely ruined how documentaries are made. Maybe not ruined, but what Tiger King did was, in Tiger King, it wasn't the first, but it was a 6-part, I think it was a 6-part documentary about
like that.
about as long as Natalia Grace, and it warranted a 6-hour runtime. It was a very complicated story with a lot of moving parts, a lot of very interesting characters.
Yes.
And every hour, there was very little like filler in the show. Even at times when it seemed like it was filler, there's like an entire episode about what's her name, Carol Baskins, and like you know, the stuff with her husband or whatever. And if that wasn't like super interesting, it's a little filler because it doesn't really have a ton to do with Joe Exotic. But it's so crazy, like even that part, and like how she's like maybe potentially, you know, fed her husband to the lions and she got away with it. And like the thing, like his car was just like found abandoned, and like no one knows what happened.
Important details.
Yeah. But I think what that did is every every like production studio that funds and produces these projects, they get, I mean, a million ideas for documentaries, I'm sure. But what they do now, I would guess, is they get a story and they're like, well, that's pretty interesting. So let's go find their 3rd grade teacher and do an episode on her because this needs to run 6 hours. This has to run 6 hours. Let's do a 20-minute segment on the pre-K program that this child went through that has nothing to do with the rest of the story. And you talk to like all these people who are not really that great on camera. They're just like, yeah, let's bring this back into Natalia Grace. In the first episode, there's a neighbor who lived, I don't know, a door, 2 doors down from the family. And this neighbor is in 3 or 4 separate interviews. And every interview is just like, yeah, I never thought that a murderous 6-year-old would come to my neighborhood. Like when I found out that this 6-year-old wanted to murder her family, I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, and that's literally like a scene. Like that's a whole scene right there.
Like, okay, great, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And then there's the first episode ends with her playing at a park, and she's like a grown woman kind of like walking around like the slide and like the little horsey
Yeah.
thing, and she's just talking about this family. And it's like, okay, the last 3 interviews you've done, you have not given one new piece of information.
Right.
It's just like this woman is just, she is no, and it's really not even her fault necessarily. She just has
No.
nothing interesting to say. And they're like, but how how did your kids feel about it? She's like, well, they didn't like it. I'm sure they wouldn't. I'm sure they wouldn't like it. And she's like, at one point she's like, yeah, my kids aren't going to have a play date with her. I'm like, I would assume not. I would assume they would not.
Right.
They would not do that.
I remember her saying like they asked her, they're like, so did your kids stop playing with her or whatever? And she's like, yeah, well, after I heard that she was trying to murder her parents, yeah, they stopped playing together. And they're like, all right. It's like, duh.
It's just not necessary. You don't need that. This story, it's an interesting story because as it goes on, there's some very strange details. That's like, okay, well, this girl, because I poorly explained it in the beginning. The controversy is, yes, she's like a psychopath, and they took her to all these therapists, or sociopath. I think is what they call it in the first episode. Yeah. A psychiatrist says, yeah, she's a sociopath. But this documentary would be a pretty solid hour and a half content wise. Like it's you've probably got a solid tight hour and a half. Interview the family, the family. We can talk about the dad in a second, about how he's kind of he loves the camera, right? The same way
he
that
does.
maybe the neighbor did or did not. I don't know. Maybe she was just accidentally put in 4 times. But this dad loves the camera. He's talking about every detail. He's talking like he's pitching a show. He's like, isn't this crazy?
He's like very well rehearsed. No, he is. Yeah. I feel like he was probably super involved in the documentary.
Yeah, but so the controversy is that apparently she, like, the family is try to reclassify her age from 6 to like 19 or whatever. Yeah. And there's still some controversy. Like, some people still think that she actually was just 6 years old, but she was just crazy or had some undiagnosed mental issues before she was adopted, or one reason or another. But that's trauma. A big back and forth. Yeah, like they found her mom and they interview her mom in the documentary. Yeah. It's all like mildly interesting. It's fine. It would be a good watch. Like, one sit down, you watch it, like, whoa, that's crazy. Move on to the next thing. For this to dedicate 6 hours of your time, it's just not worth it. It's not worth 6 hours. Watch the first episode and then Google the rest of it, and you'll be fine.
Definitely. I was gonna say, this documentary gives Casey Anthony documentary. I don't know if you watched it on Peacock. I think it was on Peacock. But they came out with a Casey Anthony documentary. And it was such a tease because it's like, that case is closed. Like, we all know exactly what happened. She got away with it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And me and you know this because we grew up in Florida. So this was like the biggest case to ever freaking hit the state of Florida, was the Casey Anthony case. And I literally remember so distinctly this case. They came out with this big bad documentary and did all of this press and all of this promo for it, and it was such a setup, as if, like, because some documentaries these days actually reveal new information. It's like, oh, my mom was murdered 30 years ago and we literally just solved it today. Like, that happens. Like, that's real.
Why make the documentary if there's no new information?
Right. That's exactly what happened. And it's the same thing with the Natalia Grace story. Like, when this story broke, like, this documentary isn't when this story broke. Like, I remember when this story broke, like, years ago. Like, this was a long time ago. And so it's just, like, same vibes where they come out with this documentary and there's no new information. Like, the Casey Anthony documentary was multiple episodes where it was just telling the story, and Casey Anthony's like, yeah, I miss my daughter, but I guess we'll never know what happened. Like, it's literally so terrible. And I'm sure it made a ton of money, but they dragged it out for, what, like you said, 6 episodes? It's just, it's crazy. So Natalia Grace gives Casey Anthony.
Is that the documentary where, like, the main selling point was Casey speaks? Listen to what the distraught mother says in 2023.
Yeah, basically. And she's just, like, no emotions. I mean, literally not a single emotion. But, I mean, we know. She killed her daughter. We all know that.
That's kind of like I think OJ did this a couple times where he just would do, like, interviews, like, post the trial. And he does, like, walk and talks with, like, journalists. And he's like, I don't know how I'm going to sleep at night knowing this guy's just out there somewhere. I mean, he could get me. Right? And it's just like, why it's
are like, good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I can't imagine being in a room with either of those people. It just, agreed. Why are we doing this? And just so awkward. It's like everybody knows.
Do you want to talk about the Savannah Bananas?
Yeah, so what... First question with the Savannah Bananas is, what are they? Like, do they play baseball or do they perform? And why?
The answer is both. Kind of. So when you said you wanted to talk about them, I guess my first question would be like, you've just seen like their TikToks? Because their social media is crazy.
Yeah, I've seen their social media, and specifically I've seen like the Taylor Swift stuff. And at first I was like, oh, okay, this seems like some crazy kid bought a jersey and he broke into a baseball game and he's running on the field and he managed to record this. Like, that was my, like, initial thought when I saw the first clips of, like, the guy doing the Cruel Summer stuff. And then more clips started to come up, and I realized that it was a whole team. So then I'm like, okay, this is one of those, not a mosh pit. What's it called when it's, like, a group dance? Oh, flash mob?
Flash mob.
Yeah, so that was my second thing. I was like, oh, okay, it's like a flash mob situation where these guys show up at, like, a random professional baseball game, like MLB, and they just jump on the field and they're crazy. Or, like, maybe the team lets them come on and, like, do their thing. Like, I'm thinking it's, like, this pop-up event. After more research, which wasn't that much research, me just going on their website, I realized that it's a league. Like, it's a league. It's a baseball league. So is it like a baseball theater league? Like, is it a baseball... Is it more baseball or is it more theater?
That's a good question. I don't know.
What is it?
70-30? 70% theater, 30% baseball. There's certainly real baseball. So I don't think they are in a league. From what I understand... I had heard of them, obviously. I've seen a lot of their social media, and I think what I understood it to be before is, I was pretty much right, is they're essentially like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. That's what it is.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
The Harlem Globetrotters, they play
I saw them.
Yeah.
I saw them
they
with
play
my friend. Sorry, go ahead.
They play the Generals. They play like the Generals every game. I think the Savannah Bananas also do that. I think the team they play is called the Party Animals.
Yes.
And it's like they play the same team every time because it is more of a show than an actual baseball game. It is still a baseball game. No, but here's what it is. So essentially, and I'm contextualizing a little bit, but so the team was started in 2016, and from 2016 until 2021, I believe, they played in a real league. I think it was called the Petite League. I don't know how many teams are in this league, but it's like an example would be like, we're from Pensacola, Florida. We have a hockey team in Pensacola called the Ice Flyers, and they play in a league. It's like, I forget what it's called. It's like the Southern Coast Hockey League or something. And there's like 6 teams in like Birmingham and Biloxi and near the South. And that league has nothing to do with the NHL. It's just its own independent league that they just play hockey in for the passion and the vibes, So I think the Savannah Bananas played in a similar league that's like pretty local. People kind of care, not really. It's not really like, it's like local. It's like very local pride. Like, oh my God, the Ice Flyers won, whatever. No one really
Right.
outside of here cares, but it's something to rally around. But in 2021, I don't know exactly why they did this, but they sort of transformed their team to go from playing actual baseball into turning into this like this show, this like event that you go to. And I don't know how good their attendance was when they were an actual team, but
Yeah.
once they made this transition, like they went on fire.
Oh,
It's
hell
apparent.
yeah.
It's apparently like pretty difficult to get Savannah Bananas tickets. As I was doing research, I found they're on a
Here I
33
am
city.
hating on them. Here
They're
I
on a
am.
33 citywide tour right now.
Okay.
So they're touring the country. The Savannah Bananas are with the Party Animals, and you can
Okay.
like watch like the full games on
Cool.
YouTube.
Maybe next
so-
time they're in Atlanta, we should go.
Yeah,
Next
I
time
mean,
you're in town, we'll go see the Savannah Bananas.
yeah,
you guys
that
our-
sounds a lot more fun than a Braves game.
Give you guys our real take.
Yeah.
You're not a big baseball game guy?
No, I love baseball actually, but
Oh.
I think what's funny is we should podcast from the stands of the Savannah Bananas game. That'd be
Oh
fun.
my god, that'd be so sick.
It would be pretty kind of difficult to do because this is the other thing
Tech-wise.
is they call it banana ball. They don't play baseball technically, so it's called banana ball, and they play like their own game with 9 or 10 rules that it's like baseball and these like 9 or 10 rules. And
Okay.
one of the rules, and I actually love this, one of the rules is if a foul ball is hit into the stands and the fan catches it, it's an out. So I like that.
Oh. Okay. And this is a lesson to me and a lesson that I have to constantly teach myself is to not be a troll. I wanted to troll them so hard, and now I'm like, oh my god, I want to go. I wanna be a Savannah Banana.
What specifically did you dislike about the Savannah Bananas before this information?
Just classic troll behavior. There's something new. They're doing something different. They're trying really hard. They're popular. So naturally, someone's got to bring them down.
Yes.
And that is, I'm a true troll, you guys, within and without. I'm a troll, but I'm doing better, and I work on it with myself. Like today, my mindset has changed.
great.
I'm gonna go buy Savannah Banana tickets right after this.
Nice, because their uniforms are pretty out there.
Yeah, they
Not
are.
necessarily. I wouldn't say like they're cool in like a weird quirky way, but they're not. I would not go to like a day party or like a dress up, costume party or a jersey party or whatever and throw on a Savannah Bananas fit,
Yeah.
because especially me with my skin tone, I can't wear yellow. Yellow does not work for me.
And they have like the brightest yellow ever.
Yes, it's like I think by Pantone it's like 100% yellow. It's the brightest yellow that yellow has ever been. So, do you want to talk about the writer's strike?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so the latest update for the WGA, it's like I forget the other part of it. It doesn't matter. It's a long
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
acronym. The SAG, we're just going to call it SAG for time's sake. The SAG union is still striking as of the recording of July 3rd. The original deadline was supposed to be June 30th, I believe.
Right.
And that got
Yes.
extended to July 12th.
Yep.
The last time that they came to the table was May 1st, I believe. So it's been
Insane.
quite a few months.
Yeah.
That was even before like shows started shutting down on May 1st that were
Right.
in production. They're very far apart, the studios and the writers union, apparently. So it's a really interesting thing. I think it was predicted it was going to last a while when it started because the issues are so important and it's like so insane. Not like maybe important, like, it's not like important on like a grand national scale, but like importance of like how the writers hold this one idea versus how the studios hold it.
Yeah.
Namely with AI and streaming service
Right.
residuals. Those are the two big ones.
Yes.
So if a deal doesn't get done by July 12th, I Do you know what happens?
What
happens
know.
if it doesn't get done?
How I understand it is at this point, right, production is shut down because the writers and the people that are striking refuse to work, refuse to come into the office. So production is shut down, right, for that reason. If they don't come to the table, like if there are no negotiations in place, I think everything just shuts down, like permanently, I guess. I mean, I'm sure there'd have to be some sort of like legal stuff to, if the, studios wanted to keep going, I'm sure they would have to like officially fire everybody. I mean, what do you do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what you do when employees are on strike. I would imagine if I were the studio and I wanted to just get on with it, not that I would do this because I'm obviously on the writer's side, but like you fire all the writers, you fire all the staff, and then you just try and use ChatGPT, or you make your staff smaller and just get on with it. I mean, I can't imagine a world where it's a big show like, I guess Severance isn't like as big as Euphoria, but Severance got enough hype, I feel like, to warrant, people wanting a second season. I don't see a world in which those shows just shut down completely and just don't finish. Like, they make too much money. So at some point, in my opinion, I feel like the studios are just going to get on with it. Which is probably worst case scenario for everybody involved, because people are going to lose their jobs and the writing's going to be absolute shit and the TV show's going to suck.
Yeah, so it's really interesting with this specifically, because with like a writer's guild, because the closest, like in my mind, the closest thing that I can kind of like relate to this, and they're slightly different, but like sports lockdowns for like their CBA agreements is like, it happens I think every like 10 to 12 years. A sports league will like, there'll be a threat of a lockdown, and like sometimes they do lockdown, like the NBA lockdown in 2011, and they just didn't play like 20 games. They did like a condensed schedule because they couldn't get a deal in time. But the thing about these kind of disputes is, if they don't come to a conclusion, I don't know if they would have to fire everyone necessarily, but what they would do is they would bring in non-union workers to do the job. But the interesting thing about SAG, and specifically in like a creative place, is good luck finding work ever in your life if you cross the picket line and you're a writer and you're like gonna say, oh yeah, I'm gonna go work for the studios, and cross the picket line. And I guess it wouldn't necessarily be crossing the picket line by definition because they weren't a union member, but like if you're a aspiring writer and you decide, oh, this is a great opportunity, I get to be the lead writer for Euphoria season 3, this is awesome. But like, good luck ever finding work ever again in your life, because they will hate you if you do that.
Right. No, it's like a lose-lose situation for sure. Like the space for existing writers, for up-and-coming writers, for prospective writers is like, sadly, like a hellscape right now, I feel like. And it's already one of those fields that gets really cliquey and like hard to break into, So we'll see what happens, but odds are the big guys are going to come out on top, unfortunately. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I think we're reaching a point where we're about to reach the point where it's gonna get really interesting. Point. Yeah, because I would think that the studios are gonna. I mean, there's really only one of two things they can do. If they can't reach an agreement and they don't want to give any leeway on AI, or if the SAG union is unhappy with the residuals that they'll get from streaming services now, because that's the two big things. If they're unhappy with those two things and they just can't come to an understanding, I mean, like, one of two things are going to happen. Either the studios are going to literally use AI, or non-union writers, which is, I think, going to be very difficult to find. Maybe they would, call someone from Nebraska who like wrote a nonfiction book, like, hey, you want to move to Hollywood and be the lead writer of Severance? Like, okay, yeah, sure. But I think, honestly, if either of those two things happen, I think the SAG union's going to come out looking pretty good, Because,
Yeah.
well, I guess the third thing that would happen would be no shows come out. That's probably not going to happen. But that, I guess technically that would be the third option. No way, right?
Yeah.
So if all these shows come out, and this actually did happen in 2007 when the writer's strike happened. There's a few classic examples like the show Heroes that aired on NBC. I've never seen it, but a lot of people think it's a 2-season show. Season 1 came out in 2006, I believe, and it was like a great show. Everyone loved it. Writer's strike happens in 2007. Studio moves on without the writers, and they completely tank the season and the entire show, and it gets canceled.
Yeah, that sucks.
Scrubs too. There's one, I think it's the last season. I could be wrong. There's one season of Scrubs that everyone just hates because it was during the writer's strike. I think it was the last season. I could be wrong.
That's funny. I don't think I watched the last season of Scrubs. Scrubs is one of those shows where I really liked it, but I'm not into medical shows, and especially like hospital shows like that, because every now and then they just give you a super, super sad episode. And I like really just like hate that kind of, like, it's not like I'm against sad shows, but I specifically hate like medical sadness. Like, I don't want to watch like tons of scenes in a hospital room, like doctors losing their patients, people losing their family. Like, I don't want to see that. But you know what I was thinking this whole time? This is completely unrelated. But I like how you kept saying that only one of two things could happen. And I'm not trying to like make a joke here, but I feel like ever since this whole submersible shit happened, I'm like, I'm going to take that lesson like into the rest of my life, that only one, when something happens, I'm going to be like, only one of two things could have happened. Because literally throughout the entire submersible drama, everybody was like, only one of two things could have happened. Like, they could have exploded or they could have floated to the surface. And it was like all these other people that were like throwing in their opinion, and they kept boiling down. They kept being like, only one of two things could have happened. And it's like just what you said. Well, there could be a third option, you know what I mean, with the whole writer's strike. Like, could just be no TV shows. But really, like, it comes down to only one or two options. So I just think that's a good lesson for life that I'm going to just bring into my practice, that anytime I'm thinking about a situation, I'm just going to tell myself, only one or two things could have happened. And I'm going to pick those two things, and I'm going to stick to them.
Yeah, it's like, and it's also like, I'm glad you said that too, because it's funny, like the same way that there's only one of two options for the movie studios, and there's technically a third, but the third would never happen. The third scenario in the submersible is that they went down there and saw the Titanic and it was awesome, and then they just come right back. Yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, sorry, our communication device petered out, but yeah, we're fine. We're chilling down here. It was awesome. Like, they come back and they had no idea the search was going on, and they're like,
oh my God.
Dude, y'all should do this. Like, if you have $250K lying around, the Titanic is awesome.
That sneaky third. Sneaky three.
Yeah. It's like, the Logitech controller they used to, the $30 gaming controller they used to navigate, it actually worked fine. And they came back and they're like, dude, why are y'all shitting on us right now? Like, we can't, what do you mean? This was cool. We did it. Like, look, here's a picture of me with the poop deck of the Titanic in the background. You know?
Not the poop deck.
All right, Kathleen, so you've got a hot Instagram tip for all of our loyal, lovely followers. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're looking for ways to audit your life, you can start with Instagram. This is going to sound like an ad. It's not. So I recently found out that you can filter through your followers. Like, you can literally audit your Instagram. So you can go to who you're following and you can sort it like with all these various categories. So it's like who you interact with least, who you followed first, who you followed most recently. And I probably unfollowed like, I want to say like 300 or 400 people. And I was amazed at how many people I'm just like, not only do I not recognize you anymore, but I don't think I've ever even met you or heard your name, and we don't have a single mutual follower. So like, why am I following you? And I also was following just like so many random like businesses that either aren't a thing anymore or that are like scam or like just derivatives of fast fashion companies anyway. But I was laughing because one thing that I noticed about myself is like, there were a couple accounts where I did recognize them, and I was like guilting myself into not unfollowing them. For example, you know how whenever you're like in a group project in college and you exchange numbers with your group members, and then they like freaking follow you on Instagram. And I'm always like, why? Like, unless you like really make friends with someone, that always bothered me. I'm like, just because we were in a group project together doesn't mean you need to follow me because you follow me, then I feel guilty and I follow you back. Then 5 years later, here I am auditing my Instagram and I'm feeling bad that I need to unfollow you, but I literally spent one project with you in freshman English class. I've never hung out with you after that. All you're doing is posting a bunch of horses anyway. Like, I think it's time for me to unfollow. And I was having, like, these mini battles with myself. Like, do you unfollow? Do you unfollow? Like, holy shit. Like, I don't even know this person. Talk about a guilty conscience. Oh my gosh, right? I just said guilty conscience. I filmed to get ready with me today for the podcast. And I said brownser. Instead of bronzer. Yeah, even you, my dumbass. The first time I've ever filmed to get ready with me, I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah, and then you apply the brownser. And I was like, oh my freaking God, did I just say that?
I got to apply this brownser so that my co-host Lee Smith can... It happens. Hey, it happens. You know.
If you ever make a Finsta, I know Finstas are like so out, except for like famous people. I feel like Finstas are only popular with like celebrities. But if you ever do a Finsta, it has to be Lee Smith. Like, because that's such a normal name. Like, nobody would ever suspect. They just be like, oh, it's just this normal guy named Lee Smith. God, that's so funny.
Yeah, we can end with this. This is funny. I had a Finsta in high school, and I think maybe freshman year of college. Do you remember what my name was?
I think I know mine was like drop top, crop top, because Migos was really popular drop top, and I used to wear a lot of crop tops.
Nice.
Yours was, I don't know, like Southside or something, like.
No, Southside Dipper. That's my Xbox name.
Okay, cool. Southside Dipper. I knew. Okay, so hey, I'm proud of myself for that. I don't even play Xbox. I just know that from hanging out with you guys.
Nice. Yes, my this is a great story in the lore of my life. My Finsta name was Onion Head because that's what my parents called me. That's what my parents called me until I was 4 years old because I didn't have hair. That's
right. Onion Head. Oh my God, my mic's probably... What do you call it when it's in the red? Not bottoming out.
Oh, it's peaking. It's peaking.
It's like a car bottoming out. Onion Head. That's right. I remember that.
Yep.
I absolutely remember that.
And if I like decided to like become join the Marines or get in the military, I would look exactly the same now as a 24-year-old than I would have as a 3-year-old with no hair.
I've seen your baby picture.
Yeah, and I don't have hair.
Yeah, no, you don't.
It's like I look like what's like the baby in The Incredibles? He's got just like the little piece of hair sticking out. Yeah, Jack. Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of cute though.
I'm that without the little piece of hair.
Yeah.
I just look like I look like Joe Rogan. Yeah.
Sorry, Joe. Damn. Well, anyway, if you're looking to audit your life and audit your Instagram and unfollow people like Lee Smith, check it out on Instagram.
Get that guy out of there.
Just go to your followers, filter through, clean up your life. And don't feel bad if you have to unfollow that person that you worked in a group project with in your freshman English class, because I did. Sorry.
Yeah, so I actually love that tip because I think everyone can kind of relate to like you meet, especially like people who went to college, like just meeting, like your freshman year at college, you want, like, it's almost a thing, like people are so into like meeting as many new people as possible that if you talk to someone and have like literally one good conversation, they'll want all of your contact info.
Yes.
And it also kind of behooves you to give that away, because what if that person's like, yeah, I'm having a party, or hey, there's this party going on, or hey, whatever. But like if you're a freshman at a college and you don't know a ton of people, it's a good way to meet people. But again, 6 years later, like especially if it's a horse girl, no thanks. Hey, no thanks. I'm good. You got fifth place in your equestrian competition? That's not impressive.
I don't give a damn.
I think that's a good place to stop. Well, thank you very much, guys, for listening if you've made it this far. So follow our social medias, The Leen Show, TikTok and Instagram. You'll know when the show comes out. It'll be coming out on YouTube and Spotify for right now. Working on Apple Podcasts. I think we can probably get it done, but for sure Spotify and YouTube are two great places to go. The Leen Show for both of them. And, we'll have clips coming out throughout the week on TikTok and Instagram. And eventually we're going to have, whether it be on a separate YouTube channel or not, we're going to have longer form clips of like the actual templates and formats that you're seeing right now out and about. So, look forward to that. If you're a true Leen Show head, though, you're going to listen to the whole episode. So,
Lean heads or Leen Show heads.
Lean head. We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
We'll work on it.
We'll work on it.
Oh, sipping on some lean heads.
Yeah. There we go.
Take.
Play us out, Glazed Eyes.